Have you ever been confused by what you might have said or done that turned a guy off? Well, what if I told you there are specific things that you may have done that will guarantee a guy loses interest in you? What if I also told you that with an understanding of exactly what those things are, you can guarantee you don't have to see that same problem in the future? If you want to learn what those mistakes are, then join me on today's show where we'll be discussing the 5 biggest turnoffs for men. That way you avoid pushing away your dream man simply because of a small miscommunication. So for the sake of this example, this guy is driving the car. Now, let's imagine in this scenario that you and this guy are going to a specific destination. Let's say you guys want to go to McDonald's, all right? Magical experience. You guys are craving McDonald's fries and a McDonald's apple pie, so you're heading there. And on the way there, you're like, hey, I really don't like this McDonald's that we're going to. I don't want to go to this one that's in this area of town. It's a really bad area of town. That one's really trashy. I want us to go to a different McDonald's. And then you take the wheel while he's driving and you start swerving the car because you wanted to go to the McDonald's on the opposite side of town because you know that one's better. They have fresher fries and a fresher apple pie. So you're taking the wheel from him and he's struggling. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I want to go to this part of this McDonald's, not the one that you were going to, okay? And you guys swerve around and you crash the car, okay? But instead, what you could have done, if you really wanted to go to that side of town, is you could have suggested, hey, I really love this McDonald's. I think that if both of us want the freshest fries and the freshest apple pie, I, based on my own experience, would think the best McDonald's for us to go to would be this one on the opposite side of town. Then he responds to you, hey, okay, how do we get there? I would love to go to that McDonald's with fresh fries and fresh apple pie because we want to eat good. Okay, so why do I give you that example in those two different scenarios in ways to get to your destination here? One of the biggest turnoffs for men will be women that are demanding. Women that take the wheel from them and try to steer the car in the direction that they want it to go. You might be saying to yourself, well, Tomisin, I thought you wanted me to come to my dates and come to these men already knowing exactly what I want and being able to communicate exactly what I want because I set boundaries. Ooh, I'm a strong, independent woman like you want me to be. So I have my boundaries already in my pocket. And as soon as I get on that date, I whip out my notebook and I read him out the list of all the rules and regulations, except you're not going to get the right response that you want for men when you become that demanding, especially when you're talking about dating men romantically. Why? Because men like to feel like a man. They like to feel like they're in their masculine. And part of being in their masculine is the ability to make choices for themselves, not feel as if they're being controlled. So unfortunately, when you come to men on your first couple of dates and you come with your list of demands, hey, we're not sleeping together until 90 days. I want you to know that you have to take me to exactly 3.5 restaurants a week, and each one of those bills has to total up to $150 or more. I need you to know that on a weekly basis, you have to be calling me at exactly 9 p.m. for exactly 1 hour and 25 minutes. That's the only amount of time I have to talk on the phone. And you come on this date thinking, hey, I'm being very clear. I'm being very direct. I hear guys say that they like clear and direct and brutal honesty. I hear guys say they like women that don't beat around the bush or play games. So I'm doing the complete opposite of that by playing 0 games and being super upfront and being super clear with what I expect and what my rules and regulations are, except that will always turn men off. Similar to you taking the steering wheel from the man in the example that I gave you and trying to turn the car for it to go exactly where you want to go when he's the one that's supposed to be the driver in the driver's seat making the driver's decisions, it's going to throw off the balance of everything that's supposed to be happening here. And rather than you guys getting to your destination safely to go to that McDonald's and eat you some nice warm fries and a nice warm apple pie, instead you end up crashing the car because both of you are struggling for power. Because the man who is supposed to be driving and supposed to be making the driving decisions in the driver's seat is now fighting with you for control of the wheel and control of the car. What you need to do rather than do that is to come onto your dates in your feminine energy. You have in your mind what your expectations are, but you allow him to make a choice of what he wants to do, how he wants to show up for you, the consistency in which he wants to show up for you, how much he wants to talk to you, how serious he wants to take this relationship. And you can be suggestive in the things that you enjoy when he is actually curious about the things that you enjoy and the things that you would like. But outside of that, you let him show up for you how he feels like showing up for you. And if it doesn't meet your expectations, then you choose to walk away. You guys are trying to build a connection with each other. I'm drawing you on opposite sides because that's kind of how you start. On opposite sides of the emotional spectrum, trying to become closer together, trying to grow your bond with each other, and trying to make this a real romantic relationship and a real strong connection here. Here's the thing though. If you meet a guy that is healthy, knows what he wants, knows what he's going for, and also knows that he wants you, and you're meeting an emotionally intelligent man, what's going to happen is when he comes on the date, as you have questions for him and you have things that you want answered, he will also be gathering his own bits of information as well. It's inevitable when you have someone who's emotionally intelligent. One of the mistakes you might make when you go out on your date, and this is something to take note of because you should address this so that you don't have to lie about it. When you go out on the dates, he's going to start asking you about your past relationships and past situations. Some of you might be in a situation where you're going out on dates with new people without having yet cut old people off. So when you're describing your situations or your relationships or your talking stages, you might have an ex over here, a talking stage over here. Some of you are in a position here where you actually have a lot of ongoing situations. And I'm not talking about ongoing situations from the standpoint of just dating other people. I'm talking about situations that are lingering because maybe at one point you were romantic with that person, but now you're not really a thing anymore, but they're not really out of your life. They're still kind of in your life. And so you're sharing a friend group, or you're still hanging out every now and again, or maybe every now and again he'll message you or he'll call you. And see, the guys that are also emotionally intelligent will be good at extracting this information from you. If you have one of these connections in your life, right? A talking stage that is now kind of a friend kind of thing vibe now, or an ex that is still in your life in some capacity, whether you work with them, you're friends with them, you go to the same gym as them, something along those lines. The emotionally intelligent men will realize that you have this going on and they'll say, ooh, not the girl that I'm looking for. Or what they'll do is they'll just categorize you as someone that they don't take serious. And I want you to be someone that they take serious. So I don't want you to present yourself like this, like someone who keeps around all of these different attachments, like we talked about yesterday, that are lingering, that were once romantic, but now it's no longer romantic, but they're still in your life. I know how much you love money and love a man with money. I also know how important it is to you that the man that you date can both protect and provide. Emphasis on the provide, capital P, all right? And there's nothing particularly wrong with that. But what I kind of want to explain to you is this concept where I want to help you kind of step outside of yourself so that you can attract the type of man you want, but understand the perspective that he has. What do I mean by that? When you go out with a man who has money, and, he's able to take you out to Nobu and able to buy you nice gifts and able to take you on vacation and do a whole bunch of nice things for you. What you have to realize is you're not the first, nor hopefully you will be the last, but you might not even be the last person that he goes out on a date with. Meaning, he has experience with other women. If you take that into account, then you have to understand what are most of those other women likely to come on dates with him and be talking about or be focused on if this man has money. I know I love money, but I also know a lot of other women are fascinated and interested in men with money. What's going to happen then is you're going to realize that the men with money have a lot of women in their lives who are very, very focused on their money. The problem with that is if you show yourself to be very similar to all the other women that he meets, he's going to categorize you in the same place as all those other women. So if this man has had money for a long period of time and he's used to being rich, okay, right? He's used to having all this money, right? He knows that most of the women that he's trying to connect with here are not just looking at him, but they're also looking at how much money he has. and they're treating him a particular way, or they're focusing on a particular part of his life or him as a person, and it's usually focused around the money or how they can access that money. And what usually ends up happening is he's not really building a real connection with a lot of these people, because to build this connection, the focus can't be up here. The focus has to be in here. What's happening is a lot of his relationships are centered around the focus being over here, the focus being up here connected to the money. And when the focus is up here connected to the money, he suffers because he finds it more difficult to build an emotional connection with you and the person that he's dating. So the reason I bring all of that up is because one of the mistakes you might make when you go and you date you a baller, because I want you to date a baller. I want you to date a man who has money, who has resources, who drives a fast car and has a nice watch. I want all of that for you. But I also want you to understand that when you sit on that date with him, he has had experience before you. And if this man is a single man and he's had money, you have to understand that the worst thing for you to do is to present yourself the same way that all the other women that he's went on dates with have presented themselves. The best thing you can do in order to actually have that man take you seriously and want to date you and want to connect with you and want to build with you is to separate yourself from all those other women. So if all those other women are money focused, money centered, money hungry, going on the date, immediately talking about his money, immediately talking about his work or his job to get a sense of how much money he has, that will usually turn those men off. Because that's exactly what all the other women that have come on dates with him have been focused on. Now, I know you're probably asking a particular question here when you're thinking about this. You're saying, well, Tomisin, am I not supposed to go on a date and ask a guy about his job, ask him about his career, ask him about his life? Is that an inappropriate question nowadays? It's not. But what I want you to be more focused on, rather than getting an understanding of how much money he makes, I want you to ask him about his career as it relates to how passionate are you about your work? Do you love going into work? Do you love what you do? Do you love your lifestyle as it relates to how much time you're spending working? That is a much more emotional place to approach his career and his life from that doesn't seem like you're very focused on the money. Because the mistake that a lot of women will make when they go on dates is they'll talk about the career as it relates to, I don't care what type of entrepreneur you are. Just tell me what type of entrepreneur money you make. Is it 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures? Tell me how much you pull in a month and how much of that can you spend on me? How many Chanel bags can I get? How many Van Cleef bracelets can I get? How many nice gifts and nice trips can I get? Can you pay for my Ubers? I know that that's important to you and I want you to get that, but I have to be honest with you. Now, when I say the book of him, I mean, when you go out on a date with a guy, and let's say you go out on a couple of dates with him and you're starting to like him, you're starting to vibe here, and you like the vibe that's going on while you guys are dating. So now you have a couple of expectations of him because you like him and he says, yeah, let's go out more, let's spend more time with each other, I really like our vibe too, and things like that. Now you're really excited. Then when you go out on the next couple of dates or the next couple of times you talk to him, you start saying things like, oh, you said you were gonna call me at 9:30 because 9:30 you would be home from work. But I checked your story and at 9:30 p.m., right, you were at the bar. You know, you said that on Tuesday at exactly 3:45 to 9:35 p.m., you were gonna be hanging out with your family at your mother's place. But I saw you out with your brothers and sisters, going out to some restaurant. This is something that you might think to yourself, oh, I'm just showing him how much I care. I'm just being communicative about how I feel and the things that he's been doing. I mean, he was doing those things, Tomisin. It's not like I'm lying, Tomisin. I'm telling you, he actually was doing those things. I'm just mentioning him some of the things that I noticed he was doing. Why am I a wrong person for that? Let me explain this to you. See, when you start dating someone, right, It's good to like the person. And see, this is kind of the catch-22 because people will tell you, ooh, I love the vibe that we're having. And I feel super connected to you. And I feel like I've known you for so long. They'll say things like that. You cannot forget that one of the worst things for you to do with a guy that you're dating is come on too strong. Okay? Especially for men. Because you coming on too strong is going to feel like you're the pursuer. When you come on really strong like that, guys are going to pull away from you because they're going to feel like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't have any emotional space here to pursue her. She is really on my body. Okay, that's how the kids say it, right? She's really on my body, just in my space, all up on me, trying to figure out what I'm doing, who I'm hanging out with, how I'm spending my time. Yeah, I did say I was going to be with my family, and instead we went out to go somewhere. But like, why are you watching all my stories and trying to corroborate all this information and trying to figure out this? And you're an FBI agent. I just started going out with you. So you're thinking it's cute because you're showing him how of an investigator you are. And you're reiterating back to him the truth that you figured out by checking his story and checking his friend's story and checking this and checking that location and stuff like that. But you come across very, very desperate. You also come across as someone who has no life. Because if you have no life, that's the only way you can spend your life building together your book of him. That's why I described it as this. Because it's like your notepad that you're writing down everything he's doing at every part of the day. I know it's confusing. Because you hear from guys, ooh, I like feeling like a girl really likes me and is invested in me. And I like girls who are brutally honest and super blunt and will just tell me how they feel and not hide anything. Please don't do that. Not every thought is for a man, especially not at the beginning when you start dating him, okay? Not everything that you think or everything that you peep is for you to tell that guy, especially when you start dating him. This can be one of the easiest ways to turn men off at the very beginning. Being all up on his body, telling him, oh, you were over here on this day. How did you even know that? I didn't even tell you that. Oh, you were over here on this day. I seen you there. Or I spotted you here. Or I corroborated that story by checking in with this person and asking that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We just met. It's going to be a turnoff to go on a date with a guy and start talking about essentially how the way that he's treating you or the things that he's doing for you on this date or in this talking stage, that he is the first guy to ever do those things. You might be thinking that you're making this a special moment for you and him to describe how, you've never experienced this before and this is so amazing and this is like a fairy tale to you because you could never have imagined a guy treating you like this. But what you're doing is you're painting a picture that he is the first man. That's actually a turnoff. Because what guys are expecting, if you're a super beautiful, this is you right here, okay? You're sexy, right? You're hot, right? You're valuable. Every guy wants you, which is exactly why they're all lined up here, okay? They're lined up here, crawling on glass, ready to sniff your butthole because they're so obsessed with you and they all need desperately to have some access to you. They're lining up just to sniff your seat after you get up. That's what they need. They're so desperate. They're fighting each other. It's like a war going on just for who can sniff your seat right after you get up. And what he's expecting, I know it sounds very strange, but what he's expecting psychologically and emotionally is that if you are all of these things, sexy, hot, valuable, desirable, there will be a lineup of men from miles and miles or kilometers and kilometers, depending on where you live in the world, right? And they will all be desperately waiting for you to get up from that chair so they can sniff that seat. They all need you. They all want you. And that's why I put your guy here, because he's thinking, since I'm meeting you now, there has definitely been many other men who have recognized how sexy, hot, valuable, and desirable you are, and they have also treated you like a princess and like a queen. And what probably happened is none of those men lived up to your standards. And they probably did one thing wrong and they got cast away because your standards are so freaking high, because you're so freaking sexy, hot, valuable, and desirable. I can't even believe it. So what you have to understand is, by virtue of this being you and this being the way that you're trying to present yourself, just with that association, that should also mean that there are men lined up to treat you correctly. So what you're making the mistake of doing, and this is why it's turning guys off, when you tell guys how, oh my gosh, this nice treatment that you're giving me is the very first time a guy has ever done something remotely good for me, what you're actually showing him is this, that there is no one lined up for you. Absolutely no one. It's a barren wasteland with just him there as the only one ready to treat you right or treat you like the queen you are. See, the problem with that though is that narrative doesn't fit the narrative of someone who is sexy, hot, valuable, and desirable. You want to know what that narrative fits? I'm not saying that you are that. I'm telling you that when you present this as if he is the first guy to ever treat you right in your entire life, you're actually painting the wrong picture of yourself. And subsequently, you're actually turning men off from you. If I'm the very first guy to ever want to treat her with some respect, with some dignity, and do things for her, then I'm probably not accurately depicting or understanding what her value actually is. He's thinking, am I the one fool to treat the woman like a queen who has been treated like trash by all these other men?